I've been looking forward to this all day, learning about history while eating. That's what Migrant Cuisines Storytelling Dinner promises to provide this weekend. The event will feature a 6-course meal that explores the history of some of Johannesburg's migrant communities. Now, in the studio with me is Chef Princess Bulelwa Mbonambi, who's here to tell us more. Chef Princess, I like that. I'm sure you never get used to that, or do you?
No, I don't, actually. My name's now a triple barrel.
Indeed.
Princess Bulelwa Mbonambi, that's what everyone...
As long as you don't miss the first two. Tell us what led to holding an evening such as this.
Basically, we started doing this because our first dinner that we had, which was the secret underground dinner, gained a lot of momentum, but all our followers needed something new. So we wanted something that showcases the city of Joburg and all the cultures that it actually has. And we came up with the Migrant Cuisine Dinner just to show a few of it, because Joburg is one of the first cities that you can eat from 50 or more countries in Africa without leaving.
50?
Yes.
Wow. So how did you decide which of the cuisines? Because I'm sure they're not 50 courses.
No. It's not 50 courses. Basically, when making this menu, I basically traveled to the different quarters within Joburg, like the Ethiopian quarter, the Chinese quarter, and looked for the matriarchs of the families.
Oh, I love that.
Yes. Sat down with them, spoke about food, started tasting. When they got used to me, the first visits, they shooed me away because they thought I was bothering them. They couldn't understand.
Coming to steal their secrets, I suppose.
This young person coming, trying to find out about traditional food, and they didn't understand that. And so I kept going back, and they spoke to me. They spoke to me about the origins of food, why it was made, and how to make it. And now I go back there to go do shopping or do other things, and they bring me secret ingredients that they brought back from home. Princess, you should try this.
So you're in now.
Yes,
you're basically you're in now.
Yes.
And a weekend or an event like this weekend comes after a couple of weeks where our city's migrant communities have very much been in the headlines, and for the wrong reasons, unfortunately, again, where we get an idea of the pressures that they live under, the conditions they live under, and how they're not always being treated with basic human respect, even from law enforcement authorities. Do you think this an event such as this could go a long way to get rid of those boundaries that people still put up amongst them, even though we share the same city?
It actually does, because the Thunder Walker, there's a poem that we do, which is a story about a migrant woman who came to Joburg and made something out of nothing. And it's part of this dinner that we do, and the food and the stories that we tell is about all these ladies who come to Joburg from wherever they came and did something out of nothing and created something. And also the people that are coming to the dinner, they actually don't know what's actually happening. And when they come in, they experience the dinner, they hear the stories, they taste the food, and they engage with some of the people, because we invite most of the people to the dinner. They have a different perspective, the reality of what's happening, and the curtain basically drops that what we've been seeing in the news and reading in the newspaper is not the reality. It's totally different, because, for example, this tea set that I got, there's a migrant tea set. I bought that in the fashion district, which is the area that has been prominently...
It's from the Ethiopian community in Maboneng.
Yeah, no, in GP Street, the fashion district, the area that is known to have so many counterfeit goods. I shop there, most
like many of us do.
But I'm not shopping for counterfeit goods, and the real moneymaker in there is things that they import straight from Ethiopia. This pot
is beautiful.
Is a Tibbs pot I got from there. So as much as they're highlighting that they're selling counterfeit goods, it's actually more culture. When you go there, it is such an amazing experience, diverse culture, the foods, the smells, the clothes. That's not what it is, and they're trying to shut it down, whereas we should be highlighting that.
Embracing it.
Yes, as that would be a draw card for any tourism markets that come to Joburg.
And that's just the thing. If you are lucky enough to travel the world, in the US, in Europe, especially you've got your little Italies, little China, and they've become tourist hotspots in London, all of these major cities. And in as much as it's not perfect, they've been able to incorporate it and turn it into a highlight, a must-see.
Yes.
Now, your personal background when it comes to food. You told me you're born and bred in Soweto, but your roots are in KZN. Where did this love of exploring other cultures through food come from?
It came much later in my career because I started cooking with my mom, obviously, and then she bought me French cooking books. So I started cooking French cuisine when I was very young.
Very cordon bleu.
Exactly. And then I studied further, and then the first thing you study as a chef is Italian cuisine, French cuisine, German cuisine. They don't really do African cuisine. But I started working in the safari industry, and I used to travel a lot, and all the lodges that you went to, the main staff was the local people from the local villages. So I'd learn how to speak Tswana, for instance, and then learn about the food and the culture and go to the villages and engage. And then I'd move, and then I would be with the Shangaan people and then learn their language and then learn their food. And then it just sparked something in me that to cook something African, basically.
Do you think there's enough of that kind of cross-cultural influence in terms of our food, or are we as South Africans still very much keeping ourselves in our own corners?
As South Africans, we love labels. We love putting ourselves in boxes.
Yes.
So
like, that's a Durban curry. It's not a Cape Town curry. I hear that a lot as well.
Exactly. That's what it is. But we seem to forget that food is actually the one thing that reminds us that there were no borders. Before someone drew a line on a piece of paper, food is universal. It's a crossover item. Over here, I've got Ethiopian tibs, which is a traditional Ethiopian item, but you'd find a meal like this. In the Xhosa culture, you'd find a meal like this. In the Zulu culture, you'll find a meal like this in an Afrikaans home. You understand? So we box ourselves, but food reminds us that we're not.
And that's an international trend. If you think about it, you've got the French have cassoulet, which is beans and a lot of pork, different parts of the pork. And you go across to Brazil, they've got something called the feijoada, which is also beans and pork and that kind of thing. And if you go across the world, especially migrant people who have moved from one part of the country, they take the food with them, and then that becomes part of the lives and the culture of that country. Now, you've told us this is Ethiopian. I've been lucky enough to eat something like that in Addis at a very quick stop in the airport. And I had like an hour, and I was like, I need to find something local to eat so that can be part of the experience. Delicious. Where's the fish from?
The fish is a Mozambican carapau, which is basically whole mackerel. If you go to Maputo or Mozambique, they cook it over the coals, but I've got a fancy kitchen, so it goes into the oven, but it's one of the...
But it's grilled, basically.
Yeah, it's grilled, basically.
And that, of course, makes it healthy, which is very trendy right now.
And pure flavor.
Indeed.
Yes.
And in that teacup over there?
Over there, I've got a Cape Malay butternut soup.
So there's cumin in it, is what I'm reading from that.
Yes. Cumin in it, a lot of dry spices, and it's something, especially in this coldish crossover weather, it's something amazing to have, but it's something that you'd have at our dinner.
And over here now, if you look at this, you'd immediately think that's Greek, right?
Yes.
And is it?
It is Greek.
But there are other cultures that have this as well.
Mediterranean, basically.
Exactly.
But that is a baklava.
Yes.
Baklava is originally made with nuts, but I think I've made the healthiest baklava you'd ever had.
That's impossible. I don't believe
it has seeds in it. There is no nuts in there. So
but still lots of butter.
And sugar. But the seeds cover up for that. But yes, that's our baklava.
And that will be served with, I'm assuming, tea.
Yes, so the teas is something that we're doing in the Scatterlings restaurant. So if you don't have time to actually come to the migrant dinners, you can come to our Scatterlings restaurant, which is themed after migrants and the Scatterlings of Africa. When you come in, the first thing you get is a cup of tea before you even look at the menu. The tea you're having right now is turmeric chai masala tea.
Oh,
very fragrant. Very amazing, tasty, and good for you. And that is our theme. The migrant theme is our running theme for the lunchtime restaurants and part of the dinners.
And where can people find the Scatterlings restaurant?
Scatterlings is at 110 Fox Street on Gandhi Square. The building is called the Thunder Walker.
Okay, and is that open normal trading hours? Or?
It's open Monday till Saturday. Monday till Friday at 6 a.m. we do breakfast, daily breakfast, and lunch till 3 p.m. And then on Saturday we open at 9 a.m. till 3 p.m. as well. And
I take it the name comes from the famous song, Scatterlings of Africa, which is very fitting this year.
Exactly.
After we said goodbye. And now, just finally, I taste this now, and my friends and I always talk about this. When you go to spas and all the very trendy places, they are serving things that now have chai this and cumin or any of these things. And then you get an older auntie or mommy coming along and they say, but we grew up drinking this. Why are we paying 50 Rand or 100 Rand for it? It's an interesting way of how these very traditional drinks and food have really come full circle, hasn't it?
Yes, yes, and now they are becoming trends, but actually in my exercise of doing these menus and creating them, I realized that the things that we think are superfoods and new foods were actually the foods of origin when they started, and we just forgot them until we saw them in supermarkets, and we realized, oh, it's relevant again, let's do it.
Indeed. So people can also find out more about Scatterlings and tomorrow's event on your social media platforms, I assume?
Yes, on Facebook we have Scatterlings, the Zwipi Underground Joburg Places page. On Instagram we are Joburg Places, and then you can also visit our website, which is www.joburgplaces.com.
And tomorrow's event, are there still places available?
Yes, I do have about 10 places available, so go online and book up quickly, because the seats go very quickly.
This is fantastic. I think we need more and more of this, not just in Johannesburg, but across the country. Yes. And thank you for bringing us tea on a Friday. Do we need to put our pinkies up? Is that tradition? That's a little Victorian way of doing it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Beautiful tea that's been brought along by Chef Princess Bulelwe Mbonambi, and I think I'm probably the first anchor who's been able to have tea on air. So thank you so much, and you can go on social media and find out more about their Scatterlings website as well, bringing the history and cuisines of some of Johannesburg's most prominent migrant communities right to the dinner table, and it's certainly, going by this conversation, sounds and seems delicious.